Okay, we are live on YouTube. We are recording. We are live. TikTok.
Welcome, welcome. Woo woo. Did you just have to restart everything?
I had to switch up the thing. Something.
All right.
You're good?
Yep. Hi, Addie. Welcome. All right, we've got our SAT problems for today. Woo woo. So go ahead and take a look at these. And even if you don't know what you're doing, if you're not really sure what you're looking at, see if you can come up with a good educated guess. Okay, we'll go over this in a few minutes. So Addie, even if you're not sure, which one do you think you would probably put down for your answer? And try to have like a justification for why you would do that. Okay, D. Awesome. What made you pick D? Okay. Okay. That's okay to not know. That's okay. Ooh, that's a good question. So what makes solving a function different from solving a regular equation? So, I mean, it kind of depends on what you mean by regular equation, right? But if you mean like between the, so this is a function for a few different reasons. There's a lot of different reasons why it's a function and not just an equation. So an equation is where you've got two quantities that are equal to each other. So you've got an equal sign, right? So the function, the function is where there's a couple different things that make it a function as opposed to just being an equation, where there's a few different ways to check. You can check with the vertical line test. And if you kind of run a vertical line across the equation, you can, if it just crosses it one time, then it's a function. Yeah, so we are live on TikTok and YouTube right now, and Instagram, I think. I'm not sure. But yeah, so we are live in a couple different places, but I do have the chats up on my screen so I can see. Okay, so this in particular is a function, so that's kind of what we're looking at with this. All right, so when we look at this, we got a couple of important pieces of information. Let me get my highlighter going. There we go. Okay, so this is telling us right here that we've got y equals f of x. Okay, so what that means, I mean, it's a little bit of kind of like overkill a bit, but it'll be fine. Let me make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so we've got this function, but ultimately, like, it doesn't really matter because we don't have any values. The key question is right here. For how many values of x does f of x equal 0? So what we've got is we've got this first part, which is y equals f of x. So that means that we are looking for how many different values of x for this function is y equal to 0. Now, where y is equal to 0, that is the x-intercept, okay? And we've got this point here. Whoops. We've got this point here, we've got this point here, and we've got this point here. So it looks like it's at -1, 4, and 7. So we've got 3 spots where it crosses the x-axis. So that is where the y value is 0 because that's along the x-axis. So the answer for this one is 3, C. Okay. All right, let's take a look at a different one. Okay, let's look at this. This one's pretty tough, right? So these are, yay, you were right. That's awesome, Marcus. So this is from a practice SAT test, or like a practice set of problems that were posted on the College Board. So I know that the SAT is primarily digital now. And so it's given on Blue Book, and so it's a little bit more dynamic testing and things like that. But these are still some PDFs that are available to everyone, that you can just download and just for practicing the different like test taking strategies and just kind of the concepts and things like that. So this is usually in the SAT, at least the paper test, especially these practice tests, the first few problems are much more like pre-algebra and algebra, and then you can get into like some algebra 2 stuff as the numbers get, as you go further into the test. With the new testing where it's dynamic, you may have a really challenging problem and then a really easy problem. But yeah, so this is geared towards really like 11th grade. Is the primary like target audience for this test. So, but the SAT is primarily over pre-algebra, algebra 1, some geometry, and some algebra 2. But it is very much an algebra heavy exam. Okay. All right. So let's see. We got some people in both the chats. We've got D and A. Let's see. All right. All right, I'll give you guys another minute or so to get in the chat and put in your answer choice. Okay. Earth Eye saying cross multiply. Awesome. Ooh, SAT, ACT prep. Woohoo! Okay, we've got C. Nice. Got A. Let's see. I'm not sure. Okay. Aw, thanks. Okay. Okay, so this question brings up something that trips up my students a lot, and it shows up in a lot of like standardized tests and things like that. It's this phrasing right here, this in terms of P and K, or in terms of X, or in terms of A, right? So when you're saying in terms of, it means that like, that's what it should be equal to, or those things should be in your answer, okay? So it's like, so you're looking at 4J plus 9 being related to like what relationship between P and K is equal to 4J plus 9. So this is, feels really complicated, but it's pretty straightforward, but it's one of those things where it's like, this is why we practice, right? Is because then we're ready for questions like this that show up, okay? So yeah, you're translating it into a different language, right? Okay, so we've got P. I'm just gonna rewrite this a little. Actually, I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit on here. Okay, so I want to get it to be equal to 4J plus 9. Okay, because that's what I'm trying to write as like in terms of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply. I need to get that 4J plus 9 out from underneath. So I'm going to multiply by 4J plus 9. On both sides. Okay, so these are going to cancel out, and then I've got 4J plus 9 times P. So then I would end up with, I'm trying to figure out where is best to write this. So then I would have 4J plus 9 times P equals K. I know it's kind of going off to the side, but I'll move over a little bit, okay? And then I would divide by P on both sides, because if I divide by P, now those are going to be canceled out. So all I have on this side is 4J plus 9, and I've got that equal to K over P. And that is identical to answer choice A right here, okay? There we go. Okay. Oh, the way the question is worded is absolutely what makes it most challenging. Absolutely. You know, so it could even be like which equation is equivalent to this one, because that's the only one that's actually equivalent, right? So again, it's one of those things that you've got to be able to translate it, and that's where the practice comes in, right? So having that practice going into it is really important, okay? Okay, so over on YouTube, we've got, is that Daniel? Daniel, yes, I can help. I do one-on-one tutoring and everything. Just send me a message. I have taught all through like 5th grade through 12th grade. So my primary focus is like pre-algebra through algebra 2 trig. But you know, whatever you need help with, especially it sounds like you're going into 7th grade. So there we are. So Johan over on YouTube is saying, please do some calc. calc can be really fun. But like I said, we primarily focus on pre-algebra through algebra 2 in this class. So, or in this, on this platform, on this, class and group. So channel, that's the word I was trying to think of. And right now, since it's summer break for most of everybody, we're primarily focusing on like standardized test practice and things like that. Okay. Daniel, just send a message through, like click on the profile and all of that. Okay, let's do this one. All right, we got some rectangles. And guys, let me know, let me know if I need to like move things down or move it around or zoom in or whatever, okay? But go ahead and take a look at this problem with the rectangles and the area and all of that good stuff, and let me know what you think. Okay, Lamar, well, we'll get going. I'm gonna give everybody just another minute or so. Okay. There we go. Earth Eye, is that better? I don't know. Okay, so again, SAT problems are all over the place. So the one that we did before with the polynomial equation with the graph, that was the problem right before this one. And then you come up to this one, which is kind of a middle school level problem, right? So you want to you kind of got to go over everything and be ready for anything. Okay, so we've got the area of a rectangular cutting board can be represented by the expression W times W plus 9, where W is the width in centimeters of the cutting board. So when we look at area of a rectangle, okay, I'm going to draw that rectangle. Okay, the area is going to be the length times the width. So we've got W, which is the width, and then we have W plus 9, which must be the length. Okay, so this one right here, so if the area, again, the area would be W times W plus 9. So if W is the width, which they tell you right here, then what is the length? The length has to be W plus 9. So the answer is D. Okay. But sometimes when you go from like a polynomial equation to then this, you might get thrown off thinking like, this feels way too easy. This feels way too easy. It's way too simple, right? Okay. So again, practice, practice, practice. All right, let's see. Ooh, okay, let's check out this one. Okay, I'm excited to see how you guys get this one. Okay, we've got A, B, E, B. Oh, I feel like we've got a little bit of everything. Okay, I have a feeling. Well, most of the answers that I see is A. I'm going to give you guys one more. Oh, Angel, that's a really smart thing to point out. It doesn't say radius. It says area. How many the area of circle B is how many times the area of circle A. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that for the area of a circle, the SAT does give you the formula for area, and area is pi r squared. Okay, so you do get that formula. Okay. All right, I'm going to give you guys another minute to work through this one, and then we'll get into it. Okay. All right, so the area of circle A. So the area of circle A is going to be pi times 3n squared, right? Which that ends up being, so 3n squared is 9n squared. So we've got 9, we can just say 9 pi n squared. It doesn't really matter the order of this. It really doesn't matter. Okay, and then let's see, my other circle, so the area of circle B is going to be pi 129n squared. Okay, so 129 squared is 16641 pi n squared. Okay, so that's just plugging it in there. Okay, now I have to keep the squared because it's not just n, it's n squared. But what you'll notice is when I start setting these up, now it says like the area of circle B is how many times the area of circle A. This is just setting up a basic ratio, right? What it's really looking at is what do you need to multiply the area of circle A by to get the area of circle B? So what I can do is I can think about this in reverse, right? If I'm trying to figure out what multiplies these together to equal this, then I can kind of undo this to be with division, right? Okay, so what I can do now is I'm going to set it up. So I'm trying to see, so it would be B over A. So I would have 16641 pi n squared over 9 pi n squared. Now, Would I actually be writing all of this out on my actual SAT? No, nobody checks your work. You don't need to justify anything. You just need to get the answer on the paper, right? But this is what I'm thinking about in my head. Okay, so that's why I'm writing out all these specific steps. Like, no, you wouldn't spend your time writing all of this out. Okay. So, but when I'm looking at this, I can see pi n squared and pi n squared. Those are just going to cancel out. So all I'm really looking at is 16,641 over 9. And when I divide that, I get 1849. So my answer is D. Okay. Those of you who got A, I'm assuming that you probably did 129 divided by 3, which is 43. Perfect. But what you might also want to look at is what is 43 squared? 43 squared is 1849. So areas, the relationship, because area you're squaring the sides or you're multiplying the two side lengths together, the way that they are related is not like a direct, like it wouldn't just be 43 because it's 43 by 43, right? That's how much it's changing. You kind of think about it that way, right? Okay, so I would get 1849, so that's D. Good job. Okay. Yeah, so if it, here we've got, if it was like a 3D object, would you cube the scale factor? So if you were talking about volume, right? So volume would be the cubed. Yep. Yeah, so volume you would use, they're like to the third power. Okay. Yeah, so this is going to, the SAT and most standardized tests, this is the reason why they have these things, right? So 43, if you do 129 divided by 3, you get 43. If you double that, you get 86. If you triple 43, you get 129. And then if you square 43, you get 1849. They're not, they meaning like, you know, the test makers and things like that. These questions are designed to trip you up if you don't have a really solid understanding of the math. Okay. Because so easy to go, oh, 129 divided by 3, 43, done. Move on to the next problem, right? But you've got to remember, you've got to look for those key pieces like the area, because area changes everything, right? It can be really tricky. Yep. All right. Okay. All right, here we go. We got some radians and degrees. SM24 asks, do you do GED math? I do, yeah. So GED math is primarily, again, it's a lot of this, like up through algebra 2, which is exactly my wheelhouse. Okay. Most math assessments like SAT, standardized tests, things like that are going to be based on pre-algebra through algebra 2 with heavy algebra. Okay, so guys, go ahead and did I see that Algebra 1 Regent this June? No. No, was it the Regents exam or was it just one of the Regents questions? Some of those Regents questions, whoo, they are tough to translate. That's good that you passed. That's awesome. Okay, so another thing that they do give you is they do give you on the SAT. They give you the I can't remember if they do it. Okay, so they tell you that the number of degrees in a circle is 360, and the number of radians in a circle is 2 pi. So that's giving you the like the rate. So 360 degrees equals 2 pi radians. ACT still exists. SAT still exists. This is right from the SAT. Thanks, Sophia. Thanks for joining. So yeah, so 360 degrees is 2 pi radians, which means 180 degrees is 1 pi radians. Yep. I usually end up using the 180 in pi, but this is what they give you on the SAT. So just kind of referring to that. All right, we got C. I don't know what the answer to this one is. We'll have to figure it out together. Most of the time, I would say like 99% of the time on this, like I have not seen these questions or worked them out ahead of time or anything like that. So that's why I like to just sort of walk you through my thought process, which may be a little different than your approach, but that's fine because again, they don't check your work on the SAT, so you don't have to show any work. All right, so we've got two angles. The measure of angle R is 2 pi over 3 radians. The measure of angle T is 5 pi over 12 radians greater than the measure of angle R. So what is the measure of angle T in degrees? Right here, they're asking me for my final answer should be in degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to convert this into degrees. I'm just going to convert everything into degrees. Degrees are more familiar to me. They're a little bit easier to visualize. I have a really, really hard time visualizing like where 2 pi over 3 is on the circle, right? When I'm thinking, I have a really hard time, just personally, I have a really hard time visualizing radians because you work with degrees so much more frequently, right? So Dashay says, what does pi mean? So pi is a constant. It's a relationship between the circumference and like the diameter or the radius of the circle. And it's about 3.14. And it's really interesting. It's really interesting to get into like what are radians, because what a radian actually is where you take the radius of the circle and how many times can you fit that length around a circle. And every single time it's 2 pi times. So you can you can take the radius of the circle and fit it around the circle, the circumference, 2 pi times. So like 6.28, blah, 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 whatever it is. Pretty cool. Okay. Okay. All right. So if we have 360 degrees equals 2 pi, that means that 180 degrees is 1 pi. So that I'm going to use as my unit rate. Okay, so my unit rate, I'm going to convert radians into degrees. So 2 pi over 3 radians. I'm going to multiply this by, so based on this, I can do 180 over pi or pi over 180. Okay, that pi looked really weird. Okay. So pi over 180, because they're the same thing. So it's sort of like converting any units, right? Like meters to yards or whatever, right? You've got your unit rate that you're going to multiply by. Okay, I got 180 because that's half of 360. Yep, so if 360 degrees is 2 pi radians, then 180 degrees is 1 pi radians. So 2 pi over 3, I'm going to convert this angle R into degrees, and I'm going to do that by multiplying by 180 over pi. When I do that, the pi values are going to cancel out. So then I've got 360 over 3, which is 120 degrees. Okay, so the measurement of angle R is actually 120 degrees. Okay. So Chronicles of Fear is asking why I'm complicating things. So this is one of those reasons why I'm just kind of explaining my thought process with this, because it may feel like it's overcomplicating, but it's explaining the background behind it, right? It's explaining how you get to these answers, because sometimes you take this and you've never even heard of radians. Okay, I've got students every year who come in as freshmen and sophomores and they haven't learned about radians yet because we haven't done the unit circle. So this is just helpful to sort of have a quick understanding. Okay. So Dashay, the 360 and 2 pi, that came from the formula sheet that they give you with these standardized tests. Okay. This is getting into more like trigonometry. Okay. So we've got 120 degrees is angle R. So angle R is 120 degrees. So if I know that the measure of angle T is something greater than the measure of angle R, and I know angle R is 120, I can go ahead. I know that A and B are not going to be right. Okay. So now 5 pi over 12, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to convert 5 pi over 12 into degrees also. I'm going to move this up a little bit. So 5 pi over 12 times 180 over pi. So I do 5 times 180 divided by 12 is 75. So that's 75 degrees. Now I see where they got that answer for A from. Okay. So now I've got 120 is my angle R. Angle T is 75 degrees greater than the measure of angle R. So the measure of angle T is 120 plus 75, which is C. Okay. There we go. Okay. So again, it may feel like it's a little bit more complicated, but you know, this is kind of your thought process when you're going through it. And I'm just going to kind of write it all down, right? Okay. All right, we got time for one more problem. Let's see. Let's go to this one. Now let's do a little bit of an inequality. So A1, the levels of math that I primarily focus on is like pre-algebra through algebra 2. Sometimes we get into some pre-calc things, but right now during the summer months, we are doing a lot of like standardized tests. So these are from SAT problems, which again is like algebra 1, algebra 2 level. But I also do yeah, I mean, I'm Earth Eye, so can I do this as a part-time job? Do you? So I am a full-time teacher, but obviously right now we're on summer vacation. But I still do every Thursday we go live, and you know, this is just something fun that I enjoy doing. I enjoy helping everybody, and I enjoy teaching, so that's what I do. All right. Oh, Jade, don't be terrified going into pre-calc. Pre-calc can feel really intimidating, but as long as you have a pretty good, solid grasp of algebra, you're going to be fine. Okay. Oh, Sorry about that, Jade. You're going to be fine even if you think you're terrible in algebra. I'm sorry. Oh, so if you're good at geometry, that can be really helpful too. So pre-calc is when the things start coming back together between geometry and algebra. So it might actually help you understand the algebra piece a little bit more because you're going in to it with this geometry understanding. So that's good. Okay. Oh, I can't see what your name is, but it says Calc 3 was easy for me. Oh man. You know, yeah, getting up to Calc 3, Calc 2 was really hard. Calc 3, sure. I mean, I would say at that point, you kind of, you know the routine, you know what's going to be sort of like the practice and things like that. For me, the hardest part was going from Calc 3 to then going back to take like my GRE and going back to teaching when you're like, oh my God, what is the area of a triangle? Like how to use those formulas and things like that. That was really difficult for me to kind of like go back to those very basic things when you learned all the way through like the shell method and differential calculus and all this kind of stuff, going back to like finding, you know, factoring a polynomial or factoring a trinomial can be really, really hard if you're like out of practice, right? Okay, so which point here is a solution to the given system of inequalities in the XY plane? Okay, even if you have never done a system of inequalities, you can still you can probably still kind of figure this one out, right? So looking at this, okay, all right, so we've got, I'm pretty sure it's B, got A, got a couple of different things in here. So any system, whether it's an inequality or an equation, a solution to a system, and it could be like 2 equations or inequalities, or it could be like 5 inequalities or equations, right? The whole point, the solution to the system means that it's going to be a solution for both things, okay? Now with these solutions, I always talk about this with like SAT and ACT and kind of like test strategies being where do you need to like solve the problem, then find your answer from the choices? Or do you want to use the choices to figure out which one is the answer, right? So this one, especially because it's an inequality, I'm not going to try to solve this system. I mean, I could. Well, you could, but there's not really a good reason to do that. So personally, here's what I would do. I would just start plugging in each of these points and seeing which one works. Okay. So if I start out with option A, okay, so option A, I'm just going to look at, we've got X and Y. Well, for all of these, right? It's X and Y, and they even tell you right there. So Y is 0. So is 0 less than or equal to negative 14 plus 7? Well, negative 14 plus 7 is negative 7. 0 is not less than negative 7, so that one's not going to work. Okay, now if I've got negative 14 is less than or equal to 0 plus 7, that's gonna be true, right? Is less than or equal to 7. So then I would also want to see, does it also solve the other one, where it would be, is negative 14 greater than or equal to negative 2 times 0 minus 1? Well, that's negative 14 is greater than or equal to negative 1. That is not true, right? So B is not going to work. Okay, I'm going to erase this, but all I'm doing is I'm just going through and I'm plugging in the points. If it doesn't work for one of them, it's not a solution. So you don't even need to try it. Okay. Hey, Pancake Mix. Welcome back. Okay. All right. So then we plug in, let's see, is 14 less than or equal to 0 plus 7? Well, that would be, is 14 less than or equal to 7? Nope. So that one's also it. Now, if you feel really confident in what you have done, right, you can just pick D and move on. I would take a look at my time and I would think, oh, I'm just going to double check, right? So is 0 less than or equal to 14 plus 7? Yes. And is 0 greater than or equal to -2 times 14 minus 1? That's a yes. Because -2 times 14 is -28. -28 minus 1 is -29. So it is D. My answer is D. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Oh, honest physics or math? That's easy. Math. Physics? Woof. Physics did not get along with my brain. The hardest class that I ever had to take in college was PChem, which is physical chemistry. Physical chemistry is basically, so I was a biochemistry major in college and I loved it. I love science and I love math, obviously. Physical chemistry is where you have to look at the actual physics of how atoms interact. I took it pass fail because I knew in the first week, I was like, this is not going to be good. And it was my senior year and God bless Dr. Harefield. She gave me a pass and I don't know. It was my senior year. It was a rough time in that class. I think I did enough, but it was really hard. All right, guys. So come and join us next week. Yeah. So somebody, let's see. Chris, yeah, it would be where the shaded regions overlap if you're using the graph. Okay, it's where they're both going to overlap. What you can also do is just plot those 4 points that are the images, and you can kind of toggle between the 2 different graphs and see which one is going to be shaded overlapping. Okay, I love chemistry. Chemistry is the best. Yeah, it's where it's shaded. So Chris, if it were an equation, it would be right where they intersect. But since it's the inequality, it's got to fit in those shaded regions. That's what that looks like. All right, guys, have a wonderful afternoon. Stay cool. I know it's hot in most places that you may be watching from. But yeah, join us next week if you're interested in tutoring, one-on-one tutoring. You know, the school year is getting ready to start pretty soon in the next couple of weeks for a lot of you. So let me know, click the link, do the stuff, send me a message. There we go. Have a good night.